Concepts. Today's topic is new criticism theory. Now let us try to understand about the fundamentals of the new criticism theory. A new criticism is a literary theory and also a critical movement that emphasizes close reading and analysis of the text itself. So here in new criticism theory, we find that so the close reading and the analysis of the literary work itself, and it is independent of, it is free from the influence of the historical events and the intentions of the authorial intentions or a reader response. So the new criticism theory treats so that deals with the literary work as a self-contained. So the literary work itself is a complete of its own. Understand, and it is also a the self-referential aesthetic object, so whose meaning and value can be discerned. So the meaning and the value of the literary work can be recognized or understood through its the formal elements, the formal basic parts of the literary text, such as the structure of the text, the imageries which are used in the text, and the language, tone, and symbols which are used in the text. So this is about the introduction of the new criticism. The key idea, the main idea of the new criticism is the meaning of a literary work resides within the text itself. This is very important point which we have to remember in new criticism when we are applying this new criticism theory. So the meaning of a literary text existed within the text itself. So this is the key, the essential idea of the new criticism theory. Now let us try to understand about the historical background of new criticism. The time period of new criticism covers between 1920s to 1930s, particularly primarily fundamentally in the United States. So it was a response to biographical, historical, and impressionistic criticism. It was a response to this biographical, historical, and impressionistic. So that is the based on general feelings. Okay, the personal impressions rather than the facts. Impressionistic means it is based on the general feeling or which is personal impressions rather than the facts focuses impressionistic criticism that dominated literary studies during 19th and early 20th centuries. So these critical aspects, the critical viewpoints, biographical, historical, and impressionistic criticism dominated during 19th and early 20th centuries. So, as a response to these criticism, the new criticism came into emerged emerged during 1920s and 1960s. So, the new criticism was inspired by British critics such as I.A. Richards and T.S. Eliot, and it was popularized. The new criticism was popularized in the U.S. by John Crow Ransom, Kenneth Brooks, W.K. Wimsatt, and Alan Tate. So these critics, John Crow Ransom, Kenneth Brooks, W.K. Wimsatt, and Alan Tate, they popularized new criticism in US, United States. The term new criticism comes from Ransom's book, The New Criticism, which was published in 1941. So you have to remember this. The new criticism term came from Ransom's John Crow Ransom's book, The New Criticism. Understand? This is about this. These are all about the historical background of the new criticism. Now, let us try to understand the tools and techniques of new criticism. So, the first one is analyzing the structure. So, when you analyze a structure, we focus more on the plot. Plot means here the sequences of events which happen in a story, and the form, that is the style or structure of a story, and the stanzas, the different, okay, stanzas, and the narrative arrangement. So that is the story description, the narration, how it was arranged. So the first technique is analyzing the structure itself and focusing more on plot, form, stanza, or the narrative arrangement. The second technique is studying diction and tone. So diction here, the words which are used, and the tone, the mood of the writing. So the word choices and the attitude conveyed. So the attitude here, the thoughts or feelings which are conveyed. So that is the second technique, studying the words and the tone of the a particular literary text. And the third technique is identifying literary devices. Identifying literary devices. So different special techniques like irony, metaphor, paradox, symbol, imagery, meter, rhyme. So irony means whatever the words which we have used, it's the opposite meaning of the words of their literal meaning. And the metaphor is a comparing two different things. And the paradox is a contradictory statement that has contradictory, the opposite statements that has a deeper meanings. And the symbols, different words which resemble certain symbols. And imagery means use of images, and meter, so that is the rhythmic or beat pattern. And the rhyme means words having the same ending sounds. So these kind of literary devices we have to identify when we apply the new criticism to any literary text. And the fourth technique is examining tensions. So that is examining the contradictions or oppositions resolved through the structure. Understand? So the contradictions, whatever the opposite statements are there, the opposite intentions are there. So all those things we have to examine. The last and fifth one is interpreting the unity. So how that all the elements contribute to single effect or single thing. How there is a unity among all the different parts which are there in the literary text. All those elements are contributed to a particular effect or to a particular theme we have to focus. So these are the five tools and techniques which are important when we apply the new criticism theory on any literary text. And the next, the strengths of the new criticism. The first strength is it is a text centered. So it encourages the deep engagement with the language and structure of the text. So here we have to understand the text, the language of the text, and the structure of the text, the deeper meanings of the text. So the first strength is it is a textual oriented, text centered. And the second strength is it is objective. So it promotes a standardized formal method of literary analysis. So it is objective, that is looking at the based on the facts and evidences without any personal feelings. So here, our personal feelings, the author's personal feelings are not involved. It is completely based on the facts and evidences, and that promotes the standardized, a formal method of literary analysis. The third strength is educational utility. Utility means here the useful. It is useful in the educational context. So it is useful in classrooms for teaching interpretation and close reading of a particular text. So you can interpret and close read a particular literary work and explain it. And the fourth strength is valued complexity. So it emphasizes the depth and the richness of the literary work. So the deeper understanding of the literary work. These are the strengths of new criticism theory. The next, let us try to understand the core principles of new criticism, the core formulas of new criticism. The first one is the first principle is close reading. So the close reading here in new criticism, a careful, detailed, and objective analysis of the text, form, style, structure, and language takes place. So we have to uh, carefully read the detailed and objective analysis of a particular literary work and its form, okay, the structure of the literary work, the style of the literary work, how the work is written, and the language of the literary text. On these aspects, we focus more in the close reading principle. And the next principle is a textual autonomy. A literary work should be studied as an independent object. It is an independent text. It is not a reflection of the author's biography or historical context in which it was produced. So we never take consideration of the author's intentions or the author's life experiences or the historical aspects, the historical situations which were in which during which time the text was created or written. So, therefore, in new criticism, we have to read a literary object independently. Sorry, a literary text independently. The third principle is we find the organic unity. So, a natural unity in the literary text, a good work of literature that achieves unity. So, that have that a good work, a literary text which has a unity where form and content are inseparable, where form and content, that is a matter and the structure, both are not separated, both are united, and we find that unity between the form and the subject matter. And the third, okay, the next fourth one is